It started like any other morning in Washington, D.C., that polished mix of tension and showmanship that only politics can create. Reporters gathered outside the Capitol, their cameras flashing, microphones buzzing, as a convoy of black SUVs rolled up to the Senate building. Inside one of them sat Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, expression calm but eyes sharp. He had a Senate hearing to attend, one that, by day's end, would have every media outlet in America replaying it frame by frame. The hearing was titled Government Transparency and Foreign Influence. The guest speaker? None other than Hillary Clinton herself. She was there to give testimony on cybersecurity and international political interference. It wasn't the first time she'd faced Congress, but this time felt different, less formal, more charged, almost like a heavyweight match everyone had paid to see. As Hillary entered the room, a wave of murmurs rippled through the press section. She was confident, smiling, perfectly poised in her navy pantsuit. Cameras followed her every move. Then came Kennedy, slow and deliberate, his trademark Southern composure making the moment even more electric. Everyone knew he had a knack for turning hearings into viral moments, and Hillary, for all her political polish, knew exactly what kind of verbal dance was coming. The chairman called the meeting to order. Statements were read, formalities exchanged. But when it was Kennedy's turn to question her, the atmosphere shifted completely. The crowd leaned forward. "Well now," Kennedy began, his Louisiana drawl thick enough to cut with a knife, "Secretary Clinton, I sure do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come enlighten us country folks about cybersecurity." A few senators stifled smiles. Hillary tilted her head slightly, lips curling into a polite grin. "Always happy to help, Senator Kennedy," she said coolly. "Cybersecurity is a complex issue, one I've been working on for decades." "I reckon it is," Kennedy said. "But what I find a tad curious is how someone with all that experience managed to, well, let's just say, misplace a few emails." The room froze. The air thickened. Hillary gave a small, practiced laugh, the kind that said, "I've heard this before." "Oh, Senator," she replied, her tone dripping with sarcasm, "if we're still talking about that, maybe we should drag the 1990s back too. Want me to call up Bill?" Laughter erupted around the room. Even some of the reporters chuckled. Kennedy didn't move a muscle. He simply looked at her, expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he smiled. "Well, Mom," he said, leaning forward, "I ain't too sure the 1990s ever left, considerin' some folks still seem to think rules only apply to everybody else." The laughter died instantly. Camera zoomed in. Hillary's smile faltered. "Excuse me," she said, raising her chin. Kennedy continued, his voice calm but cutting. "You see, Secretary Clinton, you've made a fine career out of preaching transparency, but you sure do have a knack for laws and things, emails, phones, subpoenas, truth, occasionally." Gasps filled the room. Reporters typed furiously. Hillary straightened her shoulders, trying to regain control. "Senator, I will not sit here and be insulted with baseless accusations. Everything I did was within the law." Kennedy nodded slowly. "Well, bless your heart, Mom, I didn't mean to insult you. I just figured maybe the American people might appreciate a little honesty from time to time. I know it's an old-fashioned idea." That line hit like a thunderclap. The audience erupted again, half cheering, half groaning. Hillary's expression hardened. "If honesty means letting foreign governments hack our systems unchecked, then perhaps your definition of patriotism is different from mine," she shot back. Kennedy's eyes gleamed. "Mom, I love this country more than sweet tea in July. But I'll tell you something, patriotism ain't covering your tracks and smilling for cameras. It's facing the truth, even when it's inconvenient." For the next 20 minutes, the two went back and forth, volleying words like seasoned duelists. Hillary brought up Kennedy's alignment with conservative policies, accusing him of grandstanding for internet clicks. Kennedy, unshaken, accused her of lecturing America about ethics with a record that looks like Swiss cheese. By the end of the exchange, Hillary leaned back, visibly irritated but still wearing that defiant grin. "Senator Kennedy, She said finally, "If you think you've managed to corner me, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. The facts are on my side." Kennedy smiled again, that deceptively polite expression that every journalist in D.C. recognized as a warning shot. "Well, Mom, facts are like biscuits, they rise when the heat's on. Let's see which ones rise today." The hearing concluded soon after, but the moment was already viral. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips of Kennedy's calm dismantling of Hillary's statements flooded Twitter and YouTube. Hashtags like Kennedy vs. Clinton and Bless Your Heart trended nationwide. That evening, CNN hosted a roundtable discussion titled Kennedy vs. Clinton, the Clash of the Year. Half the panel praised Hillary for her composure, the other half called Kennedy's performance a masterclass in Southern political theater. But the real shock came the next morning. Overnight, Kennedy had released a 12-page document containing declassified reports showing communications between a private cybersecurity contractor and individuals tied to Hillary's 2016 campaign, information suggesting the contractor had been used to monitor political opponents. The story detonated like dynamite. Hillary's team called an emergency press conference, dismissing the claims as misinformation and political theater, but Kennedy didn't stop there. Standing on the Capitol steps, surrounded by reporters, he calmly stated, "All I did was show the American people what's been sitting right under their noses. If that makes folks uncomfortable, maybe they ought to ask themselves why." The clip played on repeat across every major network. His words, simple, direct, almost folksy, hit home in a way that polished political speeches never could. Americans who had grown tired of political doublespeak suddenly found themselves quoting him. By midday, polls showed a startling shift. Kennedy's approval ratings skyrocketed. Hillary's numbers plummeted. Even longtime Clinton supporters admitted privately that her dismissive laughter during the hearing had come across as arrogant. That night, during a Fox News interview, Kennedy was asked how he felt about the reaction. He chuckled lightly. "Well, I ain't here to make friends, I'm here to make sense," he said. "You can laugh at me all you want, but you can't laugh away the truth." Meanwhile, Hillary's camp scrambled to regain control of the narrative. Her spokesperson released a statement claiming Kennedy's documents were taken out of context, but independent analysts confirmed their authenticity within hours. The revelation triggered a full-blown media storm. Every news anchor in America dissected the confrontation. Late-night shows replayed Hillary's laughter on loop, pairing it with Kennedy's now iconic line, "Facts are like biscuits, they rise when the heat's on." Within a week, congressional committees announced new hearings into the cybersecurity contractor. Kennedy became a household name not just for his wit, but for his relentless insistence on accountability. Reporters tried to corner Hillary at public events, asking if she regretted laughing at Kennedy. Her only response was a tight smile and a terse, "Next question," but the damage was done. A week later, Kennedy stood again before cameras, addressing a packed press corps. "I didn't set out to embarrass anybody," he said plainly. "But when someone laughs at questions the American people deserve answers to, that tells me they ain't taking the people seriously. And that, my friends, is no laughing matter." The words echoed across the nation. Editorials called it the moment Washington was reminded that humility still matters. Even political opponents admitted, grudgingly, that Kennedy had struck a chord. By the month's end, Kennedy's face appeared on the cover of Time magazine, the headline reading, "The Senator Who Made Washington Listen." Hillary, meanwhile, retreated from the spotlight, issuing only carefully worded statements through her foundation. In small towns across America, places Hillary rarely visited but Kennedy understood instinctively, people talked about the moment as if it were a turning point. Farmers at diners, veterans at barbershops, teachers at school cafeterias all said the same thing: he spoke plain. He spoke truth. It wasn't just about politics anymore, it was about tone, attitude, the way power talked down to people and expected them to smile back. Kennedy had exposed that imbalance with nothing more than his trademark politeness and an iron will. A year later, the hearing was still being referenced in political debates, college lectures, and media retrospectives. Analysts called it a modern turning point in American political communication. When asked again about Hillary during a later interview, Kennedy simply smiled and said, "I don't bear no ill will. I just hope next time she thinks twice before lawing at the folks she's supposed to serve." That one line sealed it. It wasn't just a political victory, it was a moral one. And as history would later record, it was the day Hillary Clinton left, and John Kennedy made America listen.